everyone, and welcome to a beautiful webinar presented by Senior Living Live. My name is Mary Kate Spires, and today I am joined by Ryan King, who is the Vice President of Culinary Services at the Arbor Company. And today, Ryan is going to walk us through nutrition for seniors. I am super excited about this topic. Nutrition is so important for anyone of any age, and especially with trying to age well, it is a very important topic. So I am going to hand it over to you, Ryan. Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mary Kate. Share my screen here for everybody. Here we go. So today we're going to discuss a little bit about nutrition and how specifically it impacts seniors. So we'll get started right up here. So the topics we're going to kind of go over in a very high level regard today are just an overview of nutrition as we age, the importance of proper hydration, the importance of maximizing the amount of protein that you're having during the day, fats versus healthy fats, superfoods to include in a healthy diet, and then some diet options that are out there that there's a lot of information and research on. So we'll touch on them and see if there's something that you would be interested in including in your day-to-day lives. So here we go. All right, so this first slide here, we're going to discuss a little bit about some of the struggles, some of the reasons that seniors struggle when it comes to eating healthy. The first one is kind of home life. So either it being living alone or difficulty leaving the house. So obviously that implies that it's a little bit more difficult to get out, get the groceries, do the shopping for yourself, and then you kind of either rely on other people or just kind of more convenience products that might be a little more shelf stable, something you can throw in the freezer, or something that might have a little bit more on the preservative side of things. The second reason is health related issues. The third would be medication. The fourth is a loss of sense of smell or taste, and then problems chewing and swallowing. So nutrition looks a little bit different as we age. So as we age, seniors will actually need less calories daily than you would earlier in your life. However, that being said, the body still requires the same, if not more, vitamins and nutrients. So that kind of becomes a balancing act now. You don't require as many calories. So we need to maximize the foods that we're eating to ensure that we're getting the vitamins and nutrients we have without overeating and gaining weight. So you need variety in your diet to ensure you're receiving the proper nutrients. So some high level things to look for is you want to look for foods that are high in fiber, foods that have a high level of vitamin D, potassium, calcium, and you want to look to incorporate more vitamin B12 in your diets. So to ensure that this is all happening, it's really important to read all nutritional labels on anything that you're buying that's like a processed product. Obviously, there's not the same level of nutritional labels on a bag of grapes as there would be on something that you were buying in the refrigerated or the frozen section in the grocery store. You want to do your best to avoid processed foods because they're chock full of typically a lot of added sugars and preservatives. You want to aim to eat mostly whole foods. And what we mean by whole foods are foods that are minimally processed. So think of starches, vegetables, meats, things along those lines that haven't been altered in any way. They're in their natural form, and then we would do any of the cooking and seasoning ourselves. You want to aim to eat from all five food groups throughout the course of the day. So you want to eat fruits and vegetables, grains or starches, protein, and dairy, if you're able to have dairy, obviously. And then the best way of looking at it is every meal should consist of foods with a variety of colors. So the more vibrant and colorful a plate, typically the more well-rounded it is going to be, because obviously, as we all know, vegetables and fruits are typically more colorful. So if your plate is colorful, that means that you're getting plenty of fruits and vegetables in your diet. And then you also want to avoid foods with added salts and sugar. So when you're cooking at home, instead of adding salt, why don't you try adding some fresh herbs and or acid? And what I mean by acid is, a splash of vinegar or some lemon juice, lime juice, something like that. When you actually add acid to something, it's a similar effect to adding salt to it. So what I mean by that is a lot of people salt just to salt. You don't really want to salt food just to salt food. it serves a purpose. So a little bit of salt actually brings out the natural flavors of an ingredient, and adding acid to your food will do the same thing without adding any additional sodium. So the name of the game is trying to eat as many foods that you can eat that have a lot of nutrients, but not a ton of calories. So, you're going to see a consistent theme here. So you want to eat fruits and vegetables, whole grains, fat-free or low-fat dairy, and then lean protein. So think poultry, seafood, lean cuts of red meat, such as tenderloin or sirloin, and eggs. And then you want to try and incorporate some beans or legumes, nuts and seeds into your diet. And then obviously you want to try and avoid foods that are high in cholesterol and fat, and avoid eating or drinking empty calories. And empty calories are, think of soda, for instance. If you're not drinking a diet soda and you're drinking a regular Coke or something, those are all essentially empty calories. You're getting all the calories from sugar and additional things. So it's not really benefiting you outside of the caffeine if you need a little pick-me-up. And you can get the same thing from a Diet Coke or a Coke Zero or anything along those lines. Now, next up is hydration. And this is extremely important because we can live a lot longer without eating than we can for drinking. And hydration is essential for, your body functioning at a high level. So adults over 65 are at an increased risk of dehydration, and many seniors are not hydrating enough throughout the day. And some of the reasons for this are, a big one is a diminished thirst signal. So as we age, that feeling of feeling thirsty actually decreases. So you might actually be starting to be dehydrated a little bit and not even know it, because the thirst signal isn't as strong as it once was. Another one is, as we age, our kidney function decreases, which leads to fluid imbalances and dehydration. So that actually means that we need to drink more water to keep that dehydration at bay. Medication, especially diuretics, can lead to dehydration. Any type of cognitive impairment may lead to forgetting to drink enough water. And then there's other health-related issues, such as uncontrolled diabetes, that can lead to increased urination, which is obviously depleting the body of fluids. So here are some signs of dehydration that we should all be cognizant of. The first one is a feeling of an unquenchable thirst, few or no tears in the eyes, a dry, sticky mouth, infrequent urination, dark colored urine when you do urinate, unexplained tiredness, feeling dizzy or lightheaded, or feeling of confusion. Now, here's some ways to ensure that we are getting the proper hydration. Sounds pretty simple, but the first one would be drink more water. Coffee, tea, juice, etc. may actually dehydrate the body in the long term. Like, coffee is great in the morning and you think that you're getting liquid in it, but it's actually a diuretic. So in the long term, it's going to actually make you urinate more, which is going to help dehydrate the body. So we want to ensure that after that, morning coffee, that we're switching over to water to replenish and ensure that we're getting enough water to hydrate ourselves throughout the day. A good thing, my wife actually does it because she's notorious for not drinking enough water. She actually sets reminders on her phone to drink throughout the day. So it's like her phone will go off with a reminder being like, drink, and then she'll drink, 8-12 ounces of water, and she has it set throughout the day to ensure that she stays hydrated. Another way to do it is consider adding some foods to your diet that will provide a little bit on the hydration front. So some of those options would be yogurt, fruit and gelatin or Jello products, and then soup and broth. And then I know a lot of people, they feel like they get bored with water because obviously it doesn't really have much of a flavor and stuff like that. So if you try to add some excitement, if you will, to your water, it might encourage you to drink a little bit more. So try adding fruit or flavors to your water to keep it interesting. All right, so the next one is there's a lot of misinformation out there, and for a long time it was, fat is bad, and that was kind of the general rule of thumb, but it's not necessarily the case. Not all fats are created equal, and we'll dive into a little bit of the differences here and how we can prioritize healthy fats versus the bad fats. So what is fat? First of all, as I said, not all fats are created equal. Fats contain more calories by weight than any other food type. So they're at 9 kcal per gram. Small amounts of fat are essential to a healthy diet. So we can't actually cut out fat completely, because that would actually lead to other issues in your body, because we need small amounts of fat to essentially have the body run efficiently, because fat is a source of essential fatty acids, which the body cannot actually make themselves. So we need to consume those products. And eating fats actually helps the body absorb vitamins A, D, and E. And then on the bad side of the fats, saturated and trans fats can increase the amount of cholesterol in the body. So that's what I was talking about fats that you're trying to avoid. So here are some fats that you can consume in moderation. So saturated fats. So what saturated fats are, baked goods and pastries, fried foods, fatty or processed meat. So think bacon, sausages, skin on chicken, burger patties, or other fatty cuts of meat such as ribeye or a New York strip, and then whole fat dairy products. And then trans fats are, any of those battered or fried foods. Think of a lot of the appetizers you get that would be fried or fried chicken, anything that really contains shortening or margarine, and then cakes, pies, cookies, and pastry doughs, because typically when you buy those products in and don't make them yourself, they're containing shortening or margarine in them. All right, so some healthy fats that are out there are monosaturated fats. So there are olive oil, peanut oil, and canola oil. You can also get monosaturated fats from avocados, almonds, hazelnuts, and pecans, and pumpkin and sesame seeds. And then there's also polyunsaturated fats. You can get those from sunflower, corn, or soybean and flaxseed oils. They're also prevalent in walnuts and flax seeds. And then everyone's kind of probably heard about omega-3 fatty acids. They're a type of polyunsaturated fat that you can find, especially in fish, with salmon, cod, and mackerel being the highest on the scale of omega-3s in the fish category. Next up here is the importance of protein. So this one is extremely important, especially as we age. Seniors overall just don't consume as much protein as they should, and it's extremely important for proper bodily function. So what is protein? So protein is a nutrient that plays an essential role in the health of older adults. It's found in every cell in the body, and it's essential for life. Protein supports good health, immunity, muscle maintenance, and physical function. Muscle loss is common in seniors, and consuming additional protein can help slow the loss. So that's why I was kind of harping on this, is because if we don't consume enough protein, naturally, as we age, our muscle begins to break down and deteriorate. And a lot of this is due to not getting enough protein. So we can slow that process down by adding a little bit more protein to our diets on a daily basis. It's also good because the more muscle you have, it helps with bone health and bone density. So the more muscle that we can preserve, the better our bone density, and the risk of injury from slips, falls, and stuff like that will decrease as well. So the question is, how much protein do we actually need? So the easiest way to look at it is it's 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body fat, which kind of breaks down to, I'm sorry, I lied. I forgot to change this. It's 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per pound of body weight. It's actually 0.8 grams per kilogram. So it's easier to think of it as, essentially, if you weigh 200 pounds, you should be looking to get roughly 200 grams of protein throughout the course of the day. So now, how do we get the more protein in your diet? I always tell people, prioritize your protein. So when you're eating and you're sitting down to eat, you should always start eating the protein first on your plate, because that ensures that even if you get full, you're at least getting the protein in first, which will help maintain that muscle for you. You want to look to include high protein foods with every meal, and then drink milk or other high protein beverages throughout the day as well. So milk, obviously, a lot of people do that in the morning with their cereals or just a glass of milk. If you're struggling getting protein shakes are a great way to do it, where it's not not terribly high on calories. I can tell you that I drink one pretty much, not every day, but every day I work out. That's about 60 grams of protein, and it's only roughly 280 calories. So it's a good bang for your buck. You're getting a lot of protein in there without too much on the caloric front. Now, here are some sources of where to get your protein from. So in the dairy category, think milk, cheese, and yogurt. Those are your best bangs for your buck, especially yogurt. If you're going to do Greek yogurt in the morning, that's very high in protein. You want to look for lean meats. So beef, lamb, pork, and veal are very high in protein as well. Poultry, chicken, turkey, duck, seafood, fish, shellfish, crustaceans, eggs, nuts and seeds. Think walnuts, pecans, almonds, and then pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds. Those are the ones that are highest in protein. Some legumes actually have it as well. So beans, lentils, chickpeas, and tofu, which is a soy product. And then some grains have it in minimal amounts as well. So the ones with the most protein are farro, quinoa, wild rice, or brown rice, and also oatmeal. And just to put some numbers next to this so that you guys can kind of think about it a little bit more. So chicken, 3 ounces of chicken equals 20 grams of protein. 3 ounces of beef equals roughly 24 grams. Salmon is 3 ounce portion would be 22 grams of protein. Shrimp, 3 ounces would be 21. Now we're getting into lentils. So 1 cup of lentils is 17 grams of protein. Quinoa is 8 grams of protein per cup. Oatmeal is 5 per cup. Greek yogurt, I said, was a huge source of protein. So 1 cup of that, it's actually 24 grams of protein. Milk is 8 grams per cup. 1 large egg equates to 6 grams of protein. And then even in spinach, 1 cup of cooked spinach is 5 grams of protein. So you probably heard them, just it's been a buzzword for the last handful of years now is incorporating superfoods into your diet. So what exactly is a superfood? So a superfood is any natural food that are both nutrient dense and low in calories. They help promote health by increasing immune function and decreasing the chance for disease prevention or progression. Superfoods are rich in antioxidants, minerals, and vitamins, and they are associated with heart health, a strong immune system, cancer prevention, reduced inflammation, and lower cholesterol. So some superfoods that are out there in the fruit category, apples, peaches, grapes and plums, blood oranges, grapefruit, mango and papaya, figs, kiwi, lemon and watermelon, tomatoes and avocado. So if you're going to go to the grocery store and you're going grocery shopping for, fruits, these are kind of the heavy hitters that you kind of want to keep in your pantry if you're looking to incorporate more superfoods into your diet. And then there's also a ton of berries, strawberries and blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, cherries, cranberry, and acai. Those are all awesome superfoods to include. I can tell you that in my house, I always have a variety of berries. We even give blueberries to my dog to help keep him full and, improve his health overall. Vegetables, think kale and Swiss chard, spinach and collard greens. So those are your green leafy vegetables that people talk about. Arugula and watercress, those are great to add into salads if you're looking to add some additional things to kind of break up the monotony of romaine and iceberg lettuce. Broccoli and cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, onions, garlic, and mushrooms. So a lot of these things people are eating on a regular basis anyway, as think of how many things that just onions, garlic are in on a daily basis. And pretty much every soup that you're going to eat, it's in a ton of recipes. So there's very easy ways to get some of this stuff into your diet. And on the protein front, you're thinking of oily fish such as salmon. Kind of goes back to what we were talking about the omega-3s. White meat, poultry. So you want to think lean cuts there. So turkey breast, chicken breast, and then eggs. And then grains and starches. So you want to look for quinoa and farro, brown rice and wild rice, buckwheat, oats, bulgur, amaranth, and then also sweet potatoes and plantains. What we're really trying to do when it comes to your grains and your starches, you're trying to stay away from the white flours that have been like ultra processed. So, you want to try and stay away from white rice, white bread, all those types of things, because they've been so genetically modified that you're really not getting the nutrients that you would get by, switching to a whole wheat or a rye bread or switching to wild rice, brown rice, farro. And then on the dairy front, think of kefir and Greek yogurt, and then milk. And then there's some other ones out there that don't necessarily fall into any of these categories. So that would be green tea and actually dark chocolate. So anybody that has a sweet tooth like myself, dark chocolate is a great way of, having that sweet component, but actually getting some health benefits from it as well, as long as we obviously don't overdo it. On the legume front, yep, we have chickpeas and lentils, peas and kidney beans, black beans and soybeans, and then navy beans and pinto beans. So we have pretty much every type of bean that's out there has great health benefits. So if you're looking to kind of differentiate some of your starch offerings on your meals, incorporating some beans in there as your starch of the day is a great way to add some superfoods in there. Then we kind of touched on most of these. Nuts and seeds have been a conversation throughout. They're another great superfood. You just need to kind of keep an eye on your portion sizes with that, because for such small things, they add up in calories really quickly. So just a handful is more than enough for the health benefits when it comes to any nuts or seeds. So last part of this presentation here is some diet options that are already out there that, has a lot of material a lot of research done on it. It's very approachable on the internet. You can find all types of sample diets when it comes to it. But the first one we're going to dive into is the Mediterranean diet. So the Mediterranean diet is a diet that is encouraged, and it's based off of essentially the way people in the Mediterranean eat naturally. So I think Italy, Greece, places like that, the way that they eat throughout the day, they're very much known for longevity of life and lack of crazy diseases and stuff like that. And a lot of that can be contributed to the diet that they eat. Most people think, oh, Italy, they eat a ton of pasta. Yes, they do. They eat a lot of pasta, but their portion sizes and everything like that are much smaller than what we're accustomed to here in the US. So the main selling point of the Mediterranean diet is that it can lower the risk of cardiovascular disease and other chronic conditions. So what exactly is the Mediterranean diet? So it emphasizes plant-based food and healthy fats. So throughout they eat mostly fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. Olive oil is the primary source of fat. On the diet, you want to eat moderate amounts of fish. You can have moderate amounts of wine, which I know a lot of people in this call probably would like. A moderate amount of cheese and yogurt. Little or no meat. And if you are eating meat, you want it to predominantly be poultry. And then little or no sweets, sugary drinks, or butter. The next up is the DASH diet, which stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. So this diet can help lower the risk of hypertension and lower cholesterol levels. And then what exactly is the DASH diet? So the main thing with the DASH diet is it limits your sodium intake to 2,300 milligrams per day. You want to ensure that you're eating foods that are high in potassium, calcium, magnesium, fiber, and protein. You're going to eat foods that are low in saturated fat with a moderate amount of grains, a moderate amount of fruit and vegetables, moderate amount of nuts, seeds, and legumes, a moderate amount of lean proteins. And then you want to limit the amounts of fats and oils that you have in your diet, limit amount of dairy products, and limit the amount of sweets and added sugars that you're including in your diet. And when we talk about added sugars, it's not just your pastries, your cakes, your pies, stuff like that, but it goes back to what I was talking about before. When it comes to like bread selection and stuff like that, there's a lot of added sugars in, basic white bread that aren't included if you're going to eat a whole grain or a rye bread or something along those lines. The last one here is the MIND diet. So this one is actually kind of a blend of both the Mediterranean and the DASH diet, and it stands for Mediterranean Intervention for Neurodegenerative Delay. So like I said, it combines aspects of the Mediterranean and DASH diets to promote brain health and reduce the risks associated with dementia and Alzheimer's disease. So foods to eat on the MIND diet would be whole grains and green leafy vegetables, nuts and legumes, vegetables and berries, poultry and fish. And you're going to use, in this diet as well, you're going to use olive oil as your primary source of fat. And then the foods that you're going to try to avoid would be red meat and fried foods, cheese and butter, and then sweets and pastries. And like I said, all three of these diets, there's been a ton of research, and it's very approachable on defining sample diets and meal plans and different things like that. If you just, you Google any one of these diets, there's plenty of resources out there from, all the major research centers and the government that has more information about it, and sample diets and meal plans to go along with it as well. So that's kind of the gist of it. Like I said, it was very high level. I hope I didn't run through it too quickly for everybody, but now it's time for the fun part. So this is the question and answer portion of the presentation here. And I'll kick it back to Mary Kate there for this part.
Thanks so much, Ryan. That was a great presentation. I know I learned quite a bit of what my diet should entail versus what it currently does. We do have a couple of questions. The Arbor Company operates senior living communities, and I have a couple of questions around how your recommendations are incorporated into the food available at Arbor Company communities.
So I can tell you from my perspective, I write a lot of the, I hate to use the term like corporate menus, because we don't have like corporate mandated menus, because I'm not in all 50 of our communities. I don't know the residents as well as my local directors do. So what we do is we provide seasonal menus that are kind of the blueprint and the template of how we want the menus to look. So I know from that perspective that as I'm building out these menus, I'm trying my best to, incorporate pretty much everything that we just discussed here. So I want to make sure that we're including the superfoods, the whole grains, all those types of things in there, while still sprinkling in, there's always going to be a place for fried chicken. I would never tell somebody that you need to eat a completely clean diet, because that's kind of how you fall off the wagon when it comes to it. So you should still be able to have some fun and joy with your food as well. And then the other great thing that we have is in our menu program, where all of our menus for the communities for the tabletops are printed out, there's a little icon box at the top that has different denoters on it, and they have information such as this, it's a little icon with a brain that says it's a brain healthy item. There's a little heart that says it's a heart healthy item, or it's a green superfood, or something along those lines. So it makes it very seamless by just looking at a menu to kind of pick and choose the options that are going to be the best health benefits for you.
Fantastic. And I have a couple more questions, but for anybody who is listening live with us, we do have a Q&A button on your screen, at the bottom of your screen, that you can use to type in your questions. You can even type them in anonymously if you'd like to. But Thomas has asked us, in regards to those menus at the communities, what about limiting added sugars and salts?
So as a rule of thumb, anything that we're doing in the communities will be low sodium. So like if we're not doing our own stocks and we need to fortify something and use, a chicken stock product or a base to, make soups or sauces or whatever like that, they're all low sodium bases. And the whole thing is, like I said earlier, you shouldn't be salting to salt anyway. So that's kind of the rule of thumb when it comes to our things. And then on the no added sugar from the diabetic component, we always have sugar-free options available from a dessert standpoint and an ice cream standpoint. But the other option that I try and encourage people to kind of approach, because, obviously you still need some sugars in your diet, even if you're diabetic, and along those lines would be like, if somebody's very adamant about wanting a piece of cheesecake, for instance, my recommendation would be to, okay, why don't we give you a half slice of cheesecake, and then I'll give you a sugar-free scoop of vanilla ice cream to go with it. That way it's kind of the best of both worlds, and you're kind of doing it that way.
That's fantastic. And Rosie has asked, how do you modify diet for acid reflux issues?
So that would be in a lot of that is in conjunction with the doctor and doctor's orders when it comes to recommended foods and different stuff like that, because everybody's a little bit different. So we want to kind of get it tailored to the individual. So it's kind of hard to say like a blanket statement on that. So that would be somewhere where we would work with our resident and their doctor specifically to kind of define what that person's specific diet could look like, because one person acid reflux could be caused by this thing, another person's could be caused by something on this side. So it really kind of needs to be driven by the individual.
We have one question around actually, I'm going to change my mind. Judy has a fantastic question that I want to know the answer to. Is there such a thing like sweets that have nutrition? What might those be?
That have nutrition. So from a sweet perspective, I mean, if you're looking for something that's going to be like both sweet and nutritious, I would always recommend going down some type of avenue when it comes to the berries and the fruits. You can make an awesome why am I drawing a blank right now? Like you make an awesome like watermelon sorbet, and literally you're just essentially using the watermelon and that's it, you know? So I would go towards like sorbets, things along those lines, like parfaits where you're getting yogurt and some berries and some granola, stuff like that, where you're still getting the kind of sweet tooth component of it, but you're still getting some health benefits. Then the other avenue that I've started experimenting with on like my personal life is incorporating, instead of adding sugar, you can use monk fruit sugar, which is like, I forget what the exact percentage is, but it's like 100 times sweeter than regular sugar. So getting the ratios right is kind of what I'm playing around with, but it's 0 calories and it's a 0 on the glycemic index. So that's one of those things that I'm trying to kind of play around with and find the best approach to incorporate some of those things in for the diabetics as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Alan has quite a few questions for us, and I will start this out by saying you are obviously not a doctor, so answer
Yeah.
these based on your experience if you can. Alan, these might be some questions that should go to a doctor, but we're still going to try. Alan has recently heard that excess potassium may wash out B12 reserves. Do you know anything around that?
It's definitely possible, but I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm like I said, I'm not a doctor or nutritionist, so I'm not hip on all the newest research and everything like that. So that's probably something best discussed with either a nutritionist or a doctor when it comes to that regard. I don't want to give you the wrong answer. So
I appreciate it. I wouldn't know either. Um, he also has heard a slice of avocado with red meat may improve health parameters of meat consumption for hours after meal. Alan, you have done some research.
yeah. Well, you're never gonna get an argument from me when it comes to anything, when it comes to avocado. Like if to me, like avocado is like the most superfood of superfood. Because like I said, like you're looking for like fats, and for the longest time, everything was like fat free, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. Especially going back in the 90s, you shouldn't have full fat, you should do low fat. And then what the research ended up being is that the low fat stuff was actually ending up being worse for you than the actual full fat stuff. So if you can incorporate some healthy fats when it comes to like avocado, olive oil, stuff along those lines, it definitely has those long-term health benefits. It's not going to increase the protein intake or anything like that, but it's definitely going to improve the overall healthiness of the meal.
How might you accommodate a 600 milligrams mg sodium a day diet?
600 milligrams. So
Yeah.
that's like obviously that's very low, considering even on the DASH diet, it's like 23. So you're like talking about a quarter of what the DASH diet does. So that's, I'd hate to say it's probably a pretty bland diet in the sense that like there's, lots of, you can definitely do it with just plain chicken, kind of plain vegetables, with just some olive oil, no seasoning on that. Same thing when it comes to your starches and stuff like that. You would want to cook them probably in water versus stock along those lines to really limit on the sodium consumption.
All right. Do you ever make flavored water available or fusion water available in the lobbies or cafe?
Yes. So that's something that should be occurring in every single one of our communities. That's the best practice we try and get people to do is do like aqua frescas, where they're taking some of the stuff in the back of the house, essentially steeping some fruits in it, straining it out so that you're getting a nice color and flavor from the whatever ingredients. So if you're doing like blueberries and blackberries or whatever, it should change the color, like the color of the water a little bit, and infuse it with that water. We also have like very nice beverage dispensers that we herbs, fruit, different things in that to give the water in the lobbies and bistro areas some flavor as well.
Fantastic. We do have one question from Susan. Susan, this seems a very personal and specific questions. So I just want you to know we are going to answer this. But I'm going to connect you with Ryan offline just to make sure that all of your needs are getting met appropriately one-on-one. So I just want you to know I've seen your questions, and we will get you connected with Ryan after this webinar. And then Rebecca and Thomas asked as well, we can definitely get everyone a copy of the slides. Ryan, if you'll just send them to me after the webinar today, we'll send these out along with the recording to everyone who has registered for our webinar today.
And like I said, this is very high level. There's a lot more information out there. So I was just trying to, somebody was telling me I had to fit it into a 30-minute window here on the call here. So it's very high level. So if you guys want to do some of your own research and stuff like that, there's a lot more information out there on, I kind of really jammed through the superfoods. All of them have different health benefits overall. So there's a ton of information out there on the thing. I can actually, when I send that to you, Mary Kate, I'll send you over a link to a website that has a ton of information when it comes to individual superfoods and how the health benefits associated with all of them as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, you did a great job of cramming a lot of information into a shorter amount of time. We've got a couple more questions I'm going to wrap it up with. And then, of course, if we didn't get to your question, you can absolutely email us at marketingarborcompany.com, or we'll follow up individually as well. Judy would like to know, are cashews too high in fat to be healthy?
No, because cashews, like they're one of those ones that are the healthier fat. So it's a moderation thing. They're also any nut is very high in calories in the sense for the size that it is. So it's moderation when it comes to it. So it's the good kind of fat that you're getting from nuts versus like your trans fats and stuff along those lines.
All righty. Well, I think that wraps up the majority of our questions. Like I said, if you think of one a little bit later or after you see the slides, please feel free to reply back to the email that you get. But for now, Ryan, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk with us. And for everybody else, if you'd like to see more information like this, you can go to seniorlivinglive.com. Thearborcompany.com also has a great blog with many resources around health and aging topics as well. But for now, we are going to sign off, and thank you everyone for joining us.